Hey everybody, this is Pat Jennings again from thebizseller.com with the next video in our series on the most asked questions about business valuation. And in this video, I'm going to respond to a question from a specific business owner about his specific situation. But it occurred to me that even though the information is about one business, there's a lot in my answer that applies to many different business owners. So in this brief video, we're going to give you some information on the following. First, we're going to go over some valuation basics, which might be a review for some of you. And then we're going to talk about maximizing the value of your business before you sell, and specifically maximizing your business if you have a single person business. And we're going to talk about businesses with recurring billing and businesses that are leasing their space, and talk about those things and see what sort of things you can do to help maximize the actual selling price that you eventually get. So if any of this applies to you, keep watching. Now, I recently got an email from a man with a document storage business, and he wanted to get my opinion on whether it was worth the amount that he wanted, which is $150,000. Well, without reading the whole long email here, what we can do is just select out the information that's relevant to valuing the business. So according to his email, the business has some things going for it, really impressive things. He's had a 14.8% growth rate over the last 3 years. This past year, he grossed $75,000. He has his customers paying him every month, and his customers to this point have been very reliable. So if that's something that you can show in writing to a buyer, that your customers are reliable, that's a bonus. And the bottom line is, he wants to know if he can sell the business for $150,000. So we have some basic information on this business. We have a thumbnail sketch of the business. But in reality, all of this information really doesn't tell us much about the value of the business because of this. He's given us the gross, not the profits or the earnings of the business, just the gross revenue. So that's the first thing that we need to learn from this question, is the fact that you must begin your valuation and your pricing with the earnings of the business, not the gross revenues. A business that grosses $75,000 and has $10,000 in expenses, that business is worth one amount. A business that grosses $75,000 and has $80,000 in expenses, that's worth a completely different number. Now, we've covered earnings and how to define what earnings are in other videos, and I'll give you a link here to one of those videos. But real briefly, you want to begin your valuation of your business with earnings, not gross revenue, and the specific definition of earnings you want to use is the owner's benefit. And this is the formula for calculating your owner's benefit. Remember, the buyer is buying your business for only one reason. They want to enjoy the perks and the benefits and the income that come with owning that business. And all of those perks and all of that income is paid for with what we call owner's benefit, the amount that's you've come up with from this calculation. So if that's a new term for you, please go ahead and watch this video to get a better understanding of how to define earnings. But for now, just realize that you can't value your business based on gross revenue because it means nothing to the buyer. Knowing the gross doesn't allow the buyer to answer the question, do I want to buy this business? Is the business worth what the seller is asking? Now, the other information that he provided that stands out about this business are its growth rate and the fact that the business bills monthly and that the customers pay consistently. Now, these two items will really help to increase the multiple used in the valuation of this business. And again, if the term multiple is new to you, here's another link on another video that explains valuation multiples and the multiple of earnings valuation method. That's a more detailed topic that's covered in a lot of detail in our other videos. So if you're not familiar with that term, multiple of earnings, go ahead and watch this video. But for the rest of you, these are the types of features: a growth rate that's unusually high, consistent customers that stay with you month after month after month on an almost guaranteed basis. These sorts of things really appeal to the buyer. And you're going to have more buyers wanting to buy your business if you have these sorts of features, which is going to raise the price. But even with this growth rate and the solid customer base, there are still two questions to consider in order to maximize this type of company. The first question is, in this situation specifically, is the facility where the documents are stored, is that leased? And we could ask the same question of you. Is your facility, your location, is it leased? And if so, when is the lease due to expire? If it's due to expire in less than a year or even less than 2 years of when you want to sell, I would consider talking to your landlord about extending that lease now. Any time less than that, 2 years, that's going to make the buyer worry about what's going to happen very soon after he takes over the business. Will my rent skyrocket? Will I have to move? Will I have a new landlord who I don't know, who may not be a reasonable person? So if possible, try to avoid that issue now by working out a long-term lease with your landlord and make sure that the lease is transferable to anybody who buys your business. Now, the second question is, and this is relevant to the man who sent this email, are you the only employee in your business? The business in this example, a document storage business, it's not a labor-intensive business. And many businesses like these are one-person businesses. And in a lot of single-person operations that are on the smaller side, the customers are doing business based on their relationship with the owner. And obviously, the person looking to buy that business is going to worry that when the owner leaves, maybe the customers will too. Now, if you have long-term contracts with your customers, that's best. But if they're paying for a simple service like document storage, and they're paying month to month, and they can cancel at any time, and that's actually a good sales pitch, come do business with me, pay month to month, no commitment, cancel at any time, that might be good marketing, but it also allows them to cancel at any time. And again, if there's that personal relationship between the customer and the owner when the business is sold, that could be a real problem for the buyer. So what you want to do now to make your business more attractive to buyers is give your customers the opportunity to lock in an attractive rate for your service for the next year or 2 years or 3 years. And then set them up on some form of automatic billing, either automatically deducting from their checking account or their credit card, so that you don't have to bill them every month. So that's just a good idea in general. But it also means that the customer doesn't have to think about paying you. And if they're paying once a year, they don't have to think about renewing. And the buyer, then when he comes to look at your business, doesn't have to worry about, well, how many of these people are going to renew the first of next month. And you don't even have to give your customers a discount. Just promise to lock in the current rate for the next 2-3 years going forward if they commit to a long-term agreement with you. In the buyer's mind, having customers committed long-term with automatic renewal is viewed as really one of the most valuable things that you can find in a business because it lowers their perceived risk. They know that the customers aren't going to abandon them on the day that they take over the business. So, in summary, don't focus on gross, focus on earnings. And I'll link to those 2 videos that I referenced before in the description section if you want to learn more about that. If you're leasing, get the longest agreement that you can locked in now for the certainty of the buyer going forward. And if your customers pay month to month, try to lock them into a long-term agreement with automatic billing. And the more of these things you can do, the better you're going to look to the buyers that look at your business. Now, if you have a question about your specific situation, you can go ahead in the comment section and ask me a question. And the questions that we get asked most often will be the sorts of things that we'll cover in future videos. And speaking of which, I will see you in the next video.